Greetings, R. Frederick Riddle here with another Christian News and Views, and this is episode 257, and this is Tuesday. Well, let's get started. A federal appeals court ruled that the Trump administration could send National Guard troops into Oregon against the state's wishes, pausing a lower court's order that barred the deployment. In her order halting the deployment, U.S. District Judge Karen J. Immergut, a Trump nominee, said it appeared the Trump administration was acting in bad faith with exaggerated claims of violence in the city of Portland, including that it was war ravaged with ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and crazy people who try to burn down buildings, including federal buildings, every night. Two appeals court judges, also Trump nominees, said the president's position was entitled to more deference. Even if the president may exaggerate the extent of the problem on social media, this does not change that other facts provide a colorable basis to support the statutory requirements, they wrote. Elsewhere, a federal judge in Chicago questioned immigration authorities about whether they violated a court order by continuing to use tear gas and violent tactics against protesters and journalists in the city. U.S. District Judge Sarah Ellis of the Northern District of Illinois previously ruled that immigration agents were not allowed to use tear gas on journalists and protesters who pose no threat. Yet the incidents have continued, drawing a rebuke from Ellis, who also ordered that federal agents wear and use their body cameras. Moving on to another issue is Hamas. Hamas has violently sought to reassert its authority over the Gaza Strip in the wake of the Israeli military's partial withdrawal, but questions remain over the group's future and efforts to rebuild. Since the ceasefire took effect a week ago, the militant group has deployed armed police officers on streets from where Israeli forces have withdrawn, clashed with rival clans, traded accusations with Israel that it had violated the truce, and staged at least one public execution of suspected collaborators. Experts on Gaza agree Hamas has been badly diminished, but not thoroughly destroyed, and will grow with new recruits propelled to join after tens of thousands of Palestinian civilians were killed by Israeli fire. Assessments of Hamas's strength are crucial to the negotiations around the group's disarmament. An important stipulation in the American brokered ceasefire deal that halted the war. So far, the group has refused to give up its weapons. Now, I combined these two into in today's report because they both are pertinent, important, and you can draw some conclusions from both. So I'm looking at both, and first I'm going to look at the lower courts. In the matter of the courts versus the president, I have noted in the past, may even have commented it here on this podcast, that time after time the lower courts have been partisan driven. Not when the case, but when the case starts advancing upwards through the court system, there is a stricter adherence to the Constitution of the United States, which I consider good. That is good and right. But I would like to see respect for the Constitution, the true Constitution, in the lower courts as well. I'm getting tired of them using their imagined Constitution. There's another thing here, and some of these judges need to be have new restrictions put on them. The Congress needs to look at this really seriously and put some clamps on them. Whether you are a Democrat or a Republican, it doesn't matter. What matters is that they adhere to the Constitution. And we have judges, state and federal for that matter, who are partisan. They have this partisan outlook on things, and instead of looking at seeing what does the Constitution say, they look and see, well, how can I make the Constitution support what I want to do? So they pick and choose what they want, and these judges, uh, they come up with rulings that, in some cases, they're not even authorized to do. In some cases, it's an overreach of the authority that they have, and in some cases, it seems to be just outlandish. I can't think of anything else. Excuse me for a minute. The so they need to adhere to the true Constitution, the written Constitution. I don't really care if the judge is a Trump appointee, a Biden appointee, and an Obama appointee, or even an appointee of, I was going to say President Roosevelt, and I was thinking, I wasn't thinking, but I can go all the way back to get my point across, all the way back to Teddy Roosevelt. Uh, it just doesn't matter what president it is that appointed them. They're there to take the situation and compare it. You have the Constitution, and then you have all the different laws that are supposedly based on that Constitution. And they're like to look at that whole thing and see, how does all this apply to this? It doesn't. Is when they start freelancing that you get these problems, and it's wasting our time, our money, our energy. The thing is this: time after time, these lower courts have made these decisions, and as their decision made its way up through the court system, it started getting restricted, started getting discounted, and sometimes it gets kicked out even before it gets to the Supreme Court. And when it gets to the Supreme Court, you have 9 justices there. Some are conservative and some are liberal. But all of them, I would hope and I would pray, are trying to look at what does the Constitution. I understand you can have a difference of opinion about what the Constitution says, but there are some things the Constitution says that are just outright plain. In some cases, there is a gray area, and I understand that, and I understand that they have to have discussions and so forth. But I would rather see the politics get out of the way here and just focus on what does the Constitution allow, especially when you're talking about the President of the United States, whatever president that happens to be. What rights does he have? What rights does the federal government have? And what rights do the states have? We fought a war, civil war, we call it. And the primary movement of that was states' rights. Then it got involved in war was already underway when the issue of slavery actually got involved, and President Lincoln made a proclamation which freed the slaves. But that was more of a tactic than it was a legislative thing. It was a tactic, and it was a tactic that actually worked, and it was a tactic that led to the actual freedom of slaves and bringing the black people, the Negro race, the black race, the whatever you want to call them, if you're whatever you want to call yourself. The important thing was that they got treated equally, which it should have been from the very beginning. Slavery has an evil thing that came into this world. But when we are judging history, we should always look at what they believed it then, not judged by what we know now, what they knew then. And we know a whole lot more about what God says in regards to things like this than they knew back then. But the thing is, it does not matter who nominated you, what the color of your skin is, what college you went to. What matters is your view of the Constitution. And you want somebody in there who takes a fundamental, basically, I would almost call it a literal um, understanding of the Constitution. Very little room to freelance, which is what I see them doing. And so let's move on from that. I'm getting on my post here, so we'll move on. In the matter of the Hamas, I believe that you cannot, and I think I've said this more than once, you cannot trust them, and they need to be eradicated. They are not, if they are not, then the treaty itself will ultimately not even take place, let alone fail. And so what I think should be done, if I was the head of Israel, I would send spies into there and let them take a list. Their whole job would be to take a list. I want you to identify every member, especially of the leadership of Hamas. And then we're going to move in and we're going to take them, arrest them. We'll do whatever it takes to take them out. That's the way I would look at it. You're talking about a war here. It's still a war. Even though there's peace on the horizon, it's still a war. And if Hamas has its way, the peace will never take place. Well, that's it for today. I hope that this has been informative to you. I hope this has been something to give you something to think about. That's always my purpose, is I want you to think about, not necessarily agree with me. I hope you agree with me, but that's not the important thing. The important thing is that you take and just don't just accept what the papers say. For most part, you get a liberal view. And so take it and look at it for yourself and ask yourself questions about it. Don't be afraid to ask questions. You should be taking a Christian view, and you should also be taking a biblical view if you're a Christian, but you should all be taking a constitutional view. And I'm talking about a fundamental view of what did the founders mean? What did they mean? Find out what they meant and then go from there. Not what we think it meant, but what they meant. Comes up totally different than what the liberals like you to think. Well, that's it for today. I hope this has been informative, that you've been encouraged, and that you've been inspired. Well, I hope this has been a good day for you, or actually, it's just beginning in my area. And so you have a great day, and I hope to see you in the next video.